Hello, everybody. Hello, it's Kelvin here and Crease.
Good evening.
Crease there. Very deep. Hello, everybody, and welcome. But as always, I'd like to open with a little introduction of how this show works. Crease here has got to try and entertain me. He's got to try and hold my interest, and he does that with a bunch of topics, news stories, and questions, things that he thinks will be interesting. And as soon as I grow bored with any one of those subjects, I ring my bell, and we move on to the next one on his list. Very simple. So, Chris, what is subject number one? What is topic number one?
So, topic number one, Kelvin, is international news.
You see, if this is professional, we would have like
Someone would be
we would have
sacked by now. Somebody to sack.
It's true. Somebody sacked. All of the people who helped, the T-boy,
the producers, all of them gone.
Everyone, all gone. Just us in an empty room talking to no one. Anyway, yeah. So that's that.
International news.
I just wanted to emphasise it.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing it again.
Okay. I'm going to have to bring up the story. It's on the interweb.
The interweb.
Where are we? It's basically. I'll give you the headline. I'll see what you make of it. It's Tokyo's oldest man has been dead for 30 years.
I was drinking my tea, but I'm gonna. Right. Okay.
It basically what people believe to be the oldest man in Tokyo.
The oldest man in the world, or the oldest man in Tokyo?
No, in Tokyo. You're the
Right.
oldest man in the world. The oldest man in the world being dead for 30 years isn't a news story.
Why is that not a news story? It's not. Why is it more of a news story if the oldest man in Tokyo's died? What difference does that make?
No, because it would
To
be
the
more.
story.
Because it's more likely, isn't it? Someone is likely to check on
That doesn't
the
make it more
oldest man in the
interesting.
world.
It's more interesting if it's less likely. The more unlikely something is, the more interesting it becomes. If you said, I've just seen an elephant, I'd go, well, that's an interesting story. If you said, I just saw an elephant flying through the air, I'd go, fuck me, fuck!
That's true.
That would be my level of, my degree of reaction. Okay, anyway, yes.
Anyway, Tokyo's oldest man may have been dead for 30 years. But basically, people went to congratulate him. Officials from Tokyo went to congratulate him on his 111th birthday. And when they went into his room, they uncovered his mummified skeletal remains.
Right, okay.
Lying on the bed.
Right.
Now, it gets better. Because
Did they set off a bit late, maybe?
Well, you see, it does say here, hang on, officials grew suspicious when they went to honour Mr. Kato at his address in, I'm going to murder this, sorry, Adachi Ward, but his granddaughter told them he doesn't want to see anybody. Mr. Kato's relatives told police that he had been that he confined himself in his room for more than 30 years to become a living Buddha.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
And apparently he's been receiving his pension.
How did they deter them? What was
He's
the
become
girl doing? What was the granddaughter doing?
Become a living Buddha. You can't interrupt that.
Don't interrupt becoming a
It's
living
only-
Buddha. Because if you go in there
And he's halfway through,
who knows what you'll turn into?
Oh, God.
He could turn into some kind of, like, an undead god.
Cthulhu.
He could turn into Cthulhu. You don't know what he's going to become. It's a very dangerous period, becoming a Buddha. But she was setting herself up for trouble anyway, wasn't she? By saying that he was the oldest man. The oldest man in Tokyo. That was looking for trouble, because you just knew. You knew that at some point someone was going to go, I want to go and see this oldest man.
It's true. This living Buddha.
This living Buddha.
Buddhist.
That's
I mean,
right.
Buddhist you think would probably be interesting.
Would be interested in going and seeing a living Buddha. I mean, talk about drawing attention to yourself. I don't know, she really took quite a risk using that.
She did?
Yes.
Well, I'm wondering what other lies in history people might have come up with. What other things that people may have lied about?
What sort of thing do you mean? Like,
Well, I don't know. Like, for instance, I'm trying to think of an example. But basically, I'll put this way, I've never been to America. Right.
so you think someone might have lied about America?
I'm worrying that
okay.
people may have lied to me about whether America exists or not.
Completely.
Look, I've seen programs about it.
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean,
No.
I've never been to Switzerland.
You've never been
I don't
there.
know they're not all filmed in Switzerland.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've been to America.
Oh,
so
that
either I am lying to you as part of this great conspiracy.
Yeah.
Or I was lied to about where I was. And what
true.
they did was they just decorated. They stick a few palm trees down or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Also, planes don't exist.
no, it's just they sit you in a big cylinder,
Yeah.
and they have a load of people
crane.
outside going. Woo,
And then a crane, it
and a
lifts
crane
you up.
lifts it, and it moves it from one point to another point on the airport.
Oh my god, that's
So,
horrible.
What they do is they listen to the people sat on the so-called plane.
Yeah.
They listen to all the people, and as soon as somebody says, I can't help but feel that the water down there looks an awful lot like tinfoil. And they go, quick, turbulence! So they all shake it.
Yeah, please fasten your safety belts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as they hear somebody saying something like that, or as soon as they heard somebody say, do you know what, I don't actually think that we're actually moving. What?
I think those houses are made of Lego.
Yes. Yes.
I think they're about 4 metres below us. And then
Yeah.
that's it.
I think an enormous man just walked past the wing. What? Turbulence!
Wait, that's how air crashes happen.
That's how air crashes.
No air crashes ever exist.
It's when the people have found out. They found
people
out the
exactly.
truth.
Someone panics and opens the door to jump out, and they jump out and they just fall 4 metres onto their face and go,
Landed
shit.
some Lego houses.
Oh, that really just crashing the Lego houses.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that really hurts.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. They have to
right.
stage an air crash.
Gas them! Release the gas! That night is announced on the news. 100 people were killed in a plane crash today in Malaysia. You know, that's how it happened. That's what happens.
Right, so the next topic is going to be what makes a place home?
You said that with such weight. There was real drama in that.
No, I mean it's unusual for you and I. You and I are not from this part of the world. We are from
Great Britain.
Well, we are, but we were born hundreds of miles away.
That's true. Actually, funny when you say it like that.
No,
That's true.
we were born hundreds of miles away.
In the south
of England.
nation. And now,
But when
now
I go
we're in
back
the
to,
north.
but when I go back to see my parents,
Just that we should probably clarify, because most people won't know that. You have to clarify that because now people are thinking, well, if they lived in the south, are they now living in the north or are they in the sea?
no,
We are in the north now.
Yes.
We were in the south.
you are from Essex. I'm
Yes.
from Hertfordshire. Both very near London. We now live very near Manchester in the
Yes.
county of Cheshire. But when I say I'm going back to see my family, I say I'm going back.
home.
I'm going back home.
I do that as well. Yeah.
But I haven't lived there
No.
since I was 19.
But then when I'm down there, I say I'm going
back-
home next week. It's referring
Exactly.
to here.
Exactly.
So yeah. Okay.
So my question is, what makes home? Because fundamentally, home will always be where you were brought up. It will be.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of true, but I don't know if that is true though. My home is the place I can put my underpants on the floor.
Sure.
I can't do that when I'm back home.
No.
So I've done it there. I've just done it there. I can't do that when I'm in my parents' house.
Yeah.
Because I feel like then my mum's going to have to clean up my underpants.
Can I point out, you do that in my home.
I would do it back then when I lived with them, but I
Sure.
wouldn't do it now. Because now I wouldn't want my mum cleaning my
Do
underpants
you feel like a
up.
guest now? Do you feel
No,
like
I
you
don't
go
feel
back
like a guest. No,
guest?
not through there. But I just still feel. I don't feel like I live there. I don't live there anymore. So I mean, that's an accurate feeling to have.
Sure.
It would be weird for me to whichever building I was in, for me to believe that's where I actually lived. You know,
Dreadful. I mean, you'd be in a public toilet and you'd
Yeah.
be like, oh my god.
well, look at the state of this place. Oh God, I can't have people around here. What are you doing in my house? Get the hell out! Put that thing away! I'm calling the police. I suppose the thing is,
You see, it's funny, isn't it? Because I now probably find more in common with up here now. I have more roots here. I have more reason to be here. But it's not where I'm from.
No.
And if you ask me where home is, I would say back down south. It's
And
very
what about
confusing.
this? What if we were forced to evacuate the Earth because Earth was going to be destroyed?
Right.
It was destroyed. It was absolutely obliterated.
Yeah.
Right. And we are looking for another planet. We find a planet, and we go and live on Mars. We change Mars. Where's home? Is home Mars or is home Earth? But Earth doesn't even exist anymore. Earth has been destroyed. It is debris. It's dust.
You see, if it hadn't been destroyed, if it was still
You
there,
could still say it was
I'd
home. You'd
say
say home.
that's my home.
That's home. I'm going.
That's home.
One of these days, I'm going to go home.
Even though you live
to
on
Earth.
Mars.
But I'm on Mars now. But I'm going to go home.
That's true.
But you can't because it's been
No.
obliterated.
So I think home is where your family is, perhaps.
They were on the Earth. They were on Earth when it was
They've been
obliterated.
obliterated.
It's been destroyed.
I'd have to start a new family and then call Mars home.
Mars home. That's the thing.
I'm not from Mars.
So that's the thing, isn't it?
But it's home.
But isn't that weird? Because I think that's another
No,
part of
that's
it. Is it's also about where you end up having a family. See, for example, you could say, "Oh, if my family, my parents are down south," and yet, once you've got kids and stuff,
Yep.
that becomes your home because
Yeah.
that's your home because you've got a family
Yeah.
there. But then, what? How does having kids make a difference?
Do you know what worries me? If there is a war, which is likely, if there is a war between the north and south of Britain, I'm gonna have to choose who to fight for.
That's a good point.
I'd have to show them
Your
my son with a
girlfriend's
northern
from the north,
accent. I'd have to
yeah.
show my son with a northern accent and go, look,
Please don't shoot us.
please, I'm one of you
If you
guys.
want to kill me, you'll have to kill this little northern boy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, but of course, I'm like, but I'm from down there, so I don't want to wipe Hertfordshire off the map.
I don't want to have to kill my own father with a bayonet.
Exactly.
Do you see what I mean, though? It's not. Is it about the location? Is it about the buildings? Is it? You say it's about maybe where your parents live. But if I moved your parents, if I put your parents in a cannon and fired them in a random direction towards the horizon, and wherever they land, I will build a house. Is that now your home? Is that now your actual place that you refer to as home?
Well,
I'm going home to see my family. Or is it the empty building where once they
Well, I guess the simple fact is, if the house is destroyed, my home doesn't exist anymore.
Really? So you're homeless? You've become homeless? You're a homeless man?
My original home doesn't exist
If I
anymore.
destroy your childhood home, even though you have a roof over your head
But
now...
the place I called home wouldn't be there anymore. In the same way that if my dog died, I still have its skeleton, but I don't have a dog anymore.
Yeah, but you can have another dog, don't you see?
No, I do.
You can have a
but
new
I can't
dog.
I can't claim that.
No, you can't say that dog anymore. But that's fine. That's a dead dog. That's a gone dog.
Yeah, but when it's gone, I mean, you still have its earthly remains.
Why? Why would you keep the remains
No,
of a
I'm saying
dead
that, but
dog?
you bury them. But you know what I mean? They're still
Under your home or under the place where you live? Excellent. Well, that's that. Next topic.
Okay, my next topic is one of Crease's hypotheticals. I can't feel that's slightly grandiose.
Maybe it deserves to be grandiose.
Maybe it does.
Let's
Maybe
see what
it
the
does.
story is.
Okay, so I've been thinking a bit today about Jesus returning. Right?
Okay. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I met some religious people at work, and and that got me thinking. I was thinking about, you know, because there is supposed to be a second coming of Christ, isn't there? It is prophesied that he will return at the end of days and sort of lead the people to up to heaven or whatever. You can tell I don't know much about religion either.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not a great. I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. That's my trouble.
yeah.
Basically, I was wondering if he came back, would you follow him? I mean,
Jesus.
genuinely, he came back. I mean, a miraculous, you know, a beam of light, and Jesus steps out of it and says, "Welcome, my child. I have returned."
Well, now, the first thing I say to that is that it would depend how he appeared. Because if he did what you just described, if he appeared in a beam of light,
Yeah.
and then the light cleared and there was a man stood there, then it would be, you could argue maybe some sort of special effects. You know, you are trained to be cynical now. You have to be dubious, because these days there's so many fake things on the internet. You would immediately doubt it. But if, you know, that would be slightly convincing. But if he just literally was just a man who turned up one day and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm Jesus. Hi everyone. Hi, I'm."
And he was on like This Morning.
Yeah,
with Philip Schofield.
exactly.
Yeah.
You turned on This Morning, and there's a man sat opposite them, and he says, "Yeah, I'm Jesus." That's right.
I think that's
yeah,
actually happened.
That has actually.
I think
I
think I've seen that. Yeah.
And he says, "You know, I'm Jesus." In that circumstance, no, I wouldn't. No.
What if he did miracles? But he did them like party tricks.
Miracles like what?
So he's holding a glass of water, and he's sat there chatting away with Holly Willoughby, and just literally looks at the glass, and he shakes it a little bit, and it just goes straight into wine, and then starts sipping on it.
But you see, the thing is, in this day and age, you know, you can get magicians who can do that.
You can.
You get people like
Dynamo. You're saying Dynamo might be the second coming of Christ.
Like I would not be even vaguely surprised if I saw Dynamo or the guy what's the guy who used to be a magician and now just sits in boxes.
David Blaine.
Or David Blaine. It's the kind of thing David Blaine used to do.
No, that's true. All right. So I'm trying to think of a miracle because Jesus' miracles weren't great.
They weren't great.
He cures a blind
People
man.
had a lower standard for their miracles.
That's true,
back
actually,
then.
they didn't they?
That's the thing. You'd have to account for inflation.
That's true.
Now you would have to allow for something much, much more impressive. So it couldn't be something like, I'm going to feed a lot of people with one loaf of bread. Or, I mean, he couldn't just walk on water anymore.
He'd water ski on his sandals.
He'd have to do some really elaborate water skiing thing with.
Yeah.
He splits into 14 Jesuses and they form into a triangle, and then he skis over the water. It's the only way you could justify it now because a standard walking on water. Paul Daniels did that.
It would be a real struggle.
It would be a real uphill struggle, really. But let's say he did. Let's say
he arrives, choral music on a beam of light, and
the mountain rises up to meet them.
Perfect. There, a mountain rises up to meet them, and he walks down with all the trees bowing. As he walks down, all the trees bow at his majesty.
Yeah.
And he comes down and he says, Kelvin, I want you to follow me.
Right.
Will you follow me, my child?
Right, okay. Well, in that case, I suppose you'd have a difficulty, which is that even though I myself do not believe in God or any of those sort of things, if that happened, I would have to completely reevaluate. I'd have to say, you know what? I didn't believe, but I've just seen what is effectively the impossible. I have just seen what can only be described as a miracle.
Of course.
And I have to believe that this guy is potentially Jesus. Maybe he's Jesus. Maybe he is actually what he says. Maybe he's what he claims to be. So I suppose, and I would think to myself, well, I don't want to go to hell.
No. Hang on. He wants you to be his new follower, his new disciple. You're going to be one of the disciples. One of the disciples, or the new disciples, right? You have to follow him around, and you see him performing these incredible miracles everywhere he goes. More elaborate miracles, but genuinely things you cannot explain any other way other than this man is magic. Yeah, this man is divine. He has the ability to
he can make himself go really tall. Yeah.
Oh yeah, really tall. I mean, we're talking like 8 or 9 feet.
He can do that thing like Michael Jackson does in the Smooth Criminal video, where he can make himself tilt to like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
He can do that, and everyone goes, "Whoa, that's how the fuck do you do that?"
In fact, every time he drinks, he doesn't tip the glass up.
Yes.
He literally just holds the glass to his face and then leans backwards 45 degrees. So the water goes into his mouth, and then he leans forward again.
He drinks by putting the glass on top of his head, and then the water sinks into his head. Exactly. Really impressive kind of tricks. Really impressive things, yeah.
So you follow him then?
Yeah,
right?
okay, I believe.
You start to follow him, you believe, you start to follow him.
Mm-hmm.
But then, he starts to be just a little bit of a bastard.
Right, he's a bit of a bastard.
Yeah, a bit bastard. Yeah, he's a bit of a bastard.
Yeah.
I'm Jesus, I can do what the fuck I want.
I can do what I want, mate. Don't push me.
No.
In
fact, somebody says, one of the disciples, your other disciple says, so you're being a bit of a bastard here.
I don't think you should have kicked that old woman up the arse.
Yeah. Would you still follow him?
Now, I must admit, it's a very difficult situation I find myself in. Because if there's one bully you don't want to stand up to, it's God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he has the ultimate...
He's got form. Yeah. The Old Testament, he's got form.
Yeah, he has, and you don't want to get on his bad side.
No.
Now, I mean, again, what choice do you have in this? I suppose the question is, how evil would Jesus have to get before I would start thinking about maybe he's not Jesus. Maybe he's not Jesus. Is Jesus really eccentric and testing me?
Yeah.
Or is he actually is it Satan? Am I following and serving Satan? And that's how he managed to...
They did say false prophet who can do miracles.
And I'm starting to wonder now, because I mean... If I go in to visit Jesus one day and he is sat on a throne of nude boys, writhing beneath him, eating grapes, and he waves at the girls in his swimming pool and says, "Don't worry, dears, I'll be there soon. I'll be along soon with my calming oils." I mean, how evil would Jesus have to get? I don't know. Because he's the one that says, you get into heaven, you go to hell. I mean, he's the one that makes his decision. I want to be on his good list.
And even if they shot him up, he'd just drink a glass of water and all the water
would squirt out of the holes. Yeah, like in the old films.
And he'd laugh.
He'd just laugh. He'd say, "You can't hurt me. I shall rise again, more powerful than you ever could imagine."
Yeah.
And he would come back and he would be even more terrifying.
Like just crushing,
like a massive
just
Jesus.
with his sandals, just walking through New York and just crushing everything
like
under his
an enormous
sandals.
Jesus stomping through Tokyo, smashing buildings and roaring. Amen to this! Next topic.
Next topic is Crease persuades. I don't think there is a sting for this, but by all means look.
I will look.
Basically, Kelvin, in this section, I am going to try and persuade you to watch something that I am enjoying on either television or the internet or something like that. And this week, I have chosen One Born Every Minute.
Which is?
It's a programme about a maternity unit. Mm-hmm. And it follows expectant parents from them sort of coming in to give birth through to the actual giving birth process. And it has their stories and things. Mm-hmm. But it is... Well, to say it's graphic, it's like something... it's like Hostel.
Okay.
It's...
What's the appeal of it, though? I mean...
Well, I think it's...
Just to... I mean... Full disclosure, you're having a kid, aren't you?
I am, indeed.
You
I
am
due one in December. And if there was one thing I could have watched beforehand to put me off it, it was One Born Every Minute. I should have watched it earlier.
So is that why you're watching it? Because you're curious about...
Well, I am, but I probably would have watched it anyway, because I find the whole thing sort of terrifyingly fascinating.
It's interesting you said that. You said terrifyingly fascinating. You didn't say beautiful. You didn't say...
Oh, it's not beautiful.
You didn't say,
no.
I watch it because the process is the most miraculous thing. Because those are all lies.
No, absolutely.
Those are things that people say to justify the fact that they go through agony and drop a disgusting, slimy lump out of a hole from their body. You have to at least tell yourself, oh, well, at least it was a magical experience.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. It was the most amazing experience of my whole life.
It's going to cost me 40 grand a year for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, I have got to the age now at 31 where all of my friends on Facebook, or anyone that I went to school with, all of them are having babies, right? I have seen so many people holding disgusting, shriveled, little misshapen blobs in their arms and saying, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. No! What is wrong with people?
No.
Again, that's a classic example of people have to say that because they can't be honest. They can't say what everybody thinks, which is that your baby is disgusting. It is a disgusting, shriveled little creature.
I think babies are ugly.
Especially in the very first few days. The first few days, weeks of a baby, they are repulsive to look at. I'm telling you now, Crease, when you have that baby, don't you dare ask me to look at your baby in the first few weeks, because I will be physically sick on it if I have to. Babies look like the mummified remains of an ancient Sumerian. They are disgusting. Everyone goes, oh, he looks just like your dad. Oh, he looks just like you. Oh, he's gorgeous. Look at his beautiful blue eyes. Nobody says, oh, he looks like your arm when you had your cast off. Nobody says that.
Isn't it funny?
Why can't people be honest?
Isn't it funny how people find some baby things adorable and some other things not pleasant
disgusting
at all? Like people say, oh, look at that baby kitten. Yeah. It's gorgeous. Yeah. No one says that about a maggot.
No.
Look at that baby fly. Oh, look at him.
But I'll say this. A kitten is a 1,000 times cuter than a human baby.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I can tell you now, because I wouldn't mind a little picture of a kitten. Picture of a kitten, adorable. Picture of a puppy, less so than a kitten, but it's still fairly adorable.
Yeah.
A human baby is revolting. It's like a little piglet. A septic old woman. That's what it's like. It's like the calloused elbow of an old woman 3 weeks dead, not yet discovered. Do you know what I mean? That's what babies look like. And I hate the fact that nobody's honest about it. And do you know what, right? If I ever had a baby and I had a little ugly baby, which is basically all babies, if I ever had a normal baby, which is de facto ugly, and someone came up to me, my mother came up to me and said, oh, what a beautiful baby. Oh, he's beautiful, he's beautiful. I would then start distrusting her about everything relating to the baby. Because if she can't even be honest about the most obvious and most apparent fact, which is that the baby is a disgusting thing to look at, then I don't trust them in anything. I wouldn't trust her to look after the baby. I wouldn't trust her to offer me advice on how you should look after the baby or what, or any of this. I would not trust somebody who told me that my baby was a cute baby. I wouldn't trust them with anything relating to that baby. The only person that I would trust with my baby and whose opinions I would value is the person who comes up to me and says, that is an ugly baby.
You'd trust that person.
That's the person
If
I
they look,
trust. That's the person
they
whose
look
opinion
upon your
I trust.
child and they vomited
Yes.
all down it. Oh, that's improved it. The disgusting little pruny shit.
I want to just
You want
say
the midwife
though,
to do like that. You want the midwife.
I wouldn't trust a midwife. I wouldn't trust a midwife that saw my baby and said, "You should be very proud. What a handsome young baby." I would only trust the advice of a midwife who said, "Here's your ugly baby."
Like all the rest I've delivered.
Yes.
He is as hideous as all the rest.
Like all babies,
Yeah.
he looks the same as all other babies.
Do you want me to lock him away for the first 3 months until he grows into something
right.
resembling a human?
That's right, Crease. That's what
what
the
they
people
should
I
say.
trust.
Yeah.
That's so true. And I want to say, I'm not a sociopath. I'm not saying you should kill all babies.
No.
I'm not saying I don't like babies. I don't like babies. Babies are boring. Babies, that's the other thing. Babies are boring things. They are so boring. People say, oh, my baby had a personality. My baby had a personality. But I'm telling you, your baby does not have a personality. Your baby is the personality of a whining, whinging, precocious arsehole who feels that the world revolves around it. That is the personality of your baby.
So you then?
Yeah, me. Your baby has the personality of me, and that is not a personality you want to be holding up and sort of saying, pay tribute to my baby's personality.
I think you came across out of that well-rounded.
I think I came out of that very well.
I think yeah.
Yeah, I will. It's all right. I don't want kids, really, so...
No. And by the way, when you said you don't want to see it for the first 3 weeks, believe me, I'm going to want to boost its immune system before I bring it anywhere near this festering cesspool.
Oh dear. Right, well, I think that's us pretty much sorted, so let's just wrap this up. If you've enjoyed this podcast, by all means, follow us at all the usual places. Twitter, we are Radioface Comedy. YouTube, we are Radioface Comedy. And Facebook, Radioface Comedy. So the same on all of them, basically. And that's it. So thank you for listening. And thank you, Crease, of course. Thank you for giving me these topics. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.